Welcome back everybody to linuxacademy.com. My name is Terry, and in today's course we continue our preparation for the Linux Foundation Certified System Administration exam. In this video is going to be part 1 of how to handle secure file transfers in Linux. So there's a couple of different ways to do it, and we're going to start with the most common method of securely transferring files, which is to use SSH. Now that's not to say that we're actually going to use the SSH command, but we're going to use the built-in facility for secure file transfer that is built into SSH called SCP, or Secure Copy. Now, Secure Copy will transfer files between two systems from one path to another using the credentials, the SSH credentials of the users that are indicated. Now, those credentials can be passed back and forth by password, or, as we'll see in a later video, we're going to do some key exchange setup so that would allow you to do secure file transfer without a password between two systems that recognize each other by the secure key. Right now, we'll use the user accounts and passwords that are on our two systems. We're using two Linux Academy lab servers. One happens to be running Ubuntu, one happens to be running CentOS. And it doesn't make any difference for the distribution type as long as SSH is running on both of them in server mode. So let's create a file. Let's create a couple of files. Let's say we want to echo out. Let's make a directory called transfers. Transfer, and we'll make a directory called receive. And we'll go to our second server, and we'll make a directory called transfer, and we'll make a directory called receive. Now, who am I on both servers? I happen to be logged in as the user on my Linux Academy lab servers on both of these systems. So that's, although it can be any user that has an SSH account provisioned on any of the servers that are in question. In this case, I'm going to go over to my transfer file on server 1, and let's create a file called hello world. So let's just say hello world. This is server 1. And we'll call it hello world. Now we've got this file called hello world. And now what we want to do is we want to grab the file from the user account on server 1, and we want to transfer it to the receive directory on user 2. And we can do it in one of two ways. So let's actually create another file called hello again. This is server 1. And we'll call it hello world2.txt. The reason we're going to use two files is because we're going to do two types of transfer. So the first one is we're going to securely copy from one location to a remote location. And we do that by typing in the SCP, which is simply copy. We're going to type in a -v. And although this isn't necessary, the -v stands for verbose mode. So we're going to say copy from a particular location. Let's use full paths so we see how it works. So we're going to do from our home directory, the transfer directory. So home/transfer, and we'll copy hello world. And you see when I hit tab, it actually expanded from the tilde, which stands for home user, to home user transfer. So again, if I do the tilde/transfer, and then I start to type in hello world, it actually transforms that and expands it because my shortcut being the tilde for home directory. So we're going to say hello world.txt. And then in order to get it to the remote location, we're going to do user. So the user name that I need to connect to the secondary server with, at, and then the IP address or name of the server. So in this case, the IP is going to be as follows. And then the colon and a path, home user, in this case, let's say receive. So we're going to copy securely using verbose mode, home user transfer hello world text using the credentials of user at that IP, and then the directory home user receipt. We get a whole bunch of debug statements, and again, that's part of the negotiation, the security negotiation between where you're copying from and you're copying to. And are we sure we want to connect, because we've never connected to this before? So we're importing the ECDSA key fingerprint to our file, and then we're being asked after some additional verbose mode, which is telling us that there are certain negotiations that happen to take place between us and them. And then we're going to enter in our password. So we're going to enter in our secure password. And then we should see that the file has been sent. So if we go over here and we go to the receipt directory, the receive directory. Oh, we copied it to receipt. So let's actually run that command again, because we needed to copy it to receive. So we're going to re-enter in our password, and then now if we go over here to the receive directory, the file hello world.txt is there. So let's do cat hello world.txt, and hello world, this is server 1. Now conversely, we can be on the other end of the equation, meaning we can get a file from a remote location and bring it local. And we do it very similarly. We simply do an SCP, the user. So whereas before it was a local to remote, now we're doing a remote to local. So we're simply reversing the command parameters in terms of where they appear. So we're going to do user at, and in this case, this is the IP that we need to use. This is where we want to grab it from. So we want to grab it from home, user, transfer, hello world 2.txt, and we could just put here if we wanted to, or we can simply do any number of shortcuts that we want. It's going to ask us again if we want yes or no. In this case, we're not using verbose mode. There's no need to see all those messages again. Again, that just tells us the negotiations from a security perspective that are happening between local and remote hosts. So we're going to go ahead and hit yes. We'll add the password for our user. And now we should have here hello world2.txt. And if we do a cat on hello world2.txt, hello again, this is server 1. So you can see how we're using nothing but SSH, the SSH server itself, and all of its inherited encryption to do an SCP or a secure copy by either sending a file between a local and a remote location or grabbing a file from a remote and a local location. All by passing in the username and the password along with the path for the file or directory that we want to copy. So this is a way to get secure files back and forth without having to install anything more than OpenSSH. You've probably used FTP in the past. FTP is a plain text password transfer, and it's not recommended to be used. There's actually another utility called SFTP, which we're going to cover in a subsequent video, that's an alternative for secure file copies using some more of the FTP type nomenclature. But for doing secure copy using SSH, that's all there is to it. My name is Terry for Linux Academy.